Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. And in this video we're going to be talking about what it's like to live with working dogs and some of the differences between working dogs and pets. So guys, if you enjoy this video, please hit that like button, leave us a comment, and if you're not subscribed already, subscribe. Anyway guys, let's get into the video. So we're going to start off with what's probably one of the most obvious things, is their physicality and their energy. And a lot of you guys with pet border collies at home will be thinking, well, that's just true of all border collies, but it gets intensified when we're talking about working dogs. So for example, Storm almost runs everywhere she goes. So Kate and Echo do like to ride on the bike a lot, but Storm runs every opportunity she gets, and it is totally by her own choice. The only time Storm is not running beside the bike is on roadways, because I insist that the dogs stay up on roadways because that would be dangerous. And when we're in fields close to stock, I don't allow the dogs to be running around with the stock too much in case they startle them. But other than that, Storm almost runs everywhere we go. And you'd think by the time she gets home at night she'd be tired, but she really is not. So that is one of the big differences from a pet border collie to a working one, is my dogs are used to sustained periods of exercise. They're used to working for long periods of time, and if you train like an athlete, you become an athlete. And to add to that, they are physically very strong for their size. Another big thing is nutrition, and I think I just heard a delivery outside. Perfect, as it's now time to introduce our new channel sponsors, Gilbertson and Page, the makers of the branded dog food I use, Dr. John's, as well as their other two ranges, Gilpa and Arkwright's. And this is genuinely the dog food that I use, Dr. John's Gold. I've been using it for about 3 years now. Tried a lot of different dog foods in the past, but Dr. John's just seem to keep my dogs in the best condition. They have a full range of Dr. John's, which suits all different dogs of all different energy levels and all different dietary needs, as well as their other two full ranges of pet foods. They even have food for cats and ferrets. So they really have got something to suit every single pet's needs. And Gilbertson Page are now celebrating their 150th year of trading. So if you order direct from www.gilpa.co.uk and use the promo code GOLD150, you can get 15% off your first 2 bags of dog food. So now guys, we're going to talk about temperament and socialization. So first off, you should never approach and try and pet a working dog without their handler being there and telling you it's okay and introducing you properly. So these dogs, they don't live like pets, so they don't really act the same way pets do around about people. So in the case of a lot of pets, a lot of the stimulation or the enrichment or engaging activity they get is through a person or people, so they look for people for that. Working dogs don't really do that. They find their own appeasement, they find their own enrichment, and it all comes from their job, and they don't really necessarily associate that with people. And also, because we live in an area where there are a low density of new people, there's maybe a core group of 4 or 5 people in my dogs' lives, and then we don't really get a lot of strangers, so they can be naturally suspicious of people. And you have to also remember that they see the whole farm as their territory, but if you're introduced to working dogs the right way, they are super affectionate, super loving dogs, and they act just like pets once you're in that inner circle. I know, Storm. Also, with all the dogs, my dogs live in a pack environment, and what I generally find with that is they have better social skills but less tolerance for dogs that don't. So if your dog has good social skills, generally they'll fit in with a working pack quite easily, but a dog who's going to come in, act dominant, or comes in with poor social skills, that can become a problem very quickly for a working pack. And then something else that I don't think is talked about enough really, and it should be part of any working dog's training regime, and it's something you wouldn't think about at all as a pet owner, and that is socialising your dogs with the likes of cattle, sheep and all that type of thing. So my dogs will be out and around cattle and sheep at about 12 to 14 weeks old, and whether that's just sitting on my lap on the bike. But people ask whether their dog would be good at herding, and where I don't doubt there are a lot of collies out there who have the instincts for herding, the question would be more, do they have the temperament for herding, and do they have the temperament to be around livestock as an older dog? So if your dog's not brought up with the likes of cattle and sheep or around the farm environment, it may not have the right temperament to come into a farm environment. One other big difference you'll see in working dogs versus pet dogs is the independence that they have. Working dogs are super independent. So if I'm up at the farm and I'm not doing something that's something that the dogs are part of, the dogs just do what they want round about the farm. And sometimes they may just want to follow you around, sort of be interested in what you're doing, and sometimes they just go and do their own thing. And also when we are working, we want these dogs to be able to think independently. So if we were collecting a hill and we're a big distance, we maybe can't see the dog, that dog has to be able to make decisions by itself. But that we also find that dogs also get pretty independent in just how they live their lives as working dogs. They're very rarely on leads. A lot of the time they will be walking around the properties by themselves or with other dogs, but not necessarily overly watched. Obviously if we hear barking or something going on, we'll come over and investigate it, but because there's not a huge traffic of people, we can let our dogs pretty much do what they want a lot of the time. So probably the most common things is Kate will lie up the front of the farm looking for birds. Storm quite likes to mess around in the hay sheds on the farm. She'll also like to just run around cattle sheds. They sort of just do what they want to do sometimes. So if you're doing maintenance on something, then maybe the dogs are not going to be too bothered with what you're doing, and they'll go off and do their own thing. And they do think pretty independently. And the important part of this too, which kind of goes back to that sort of mentality of socialization around stock, is a working dog should know, even though it's not being watched, it's not supposed to be herding, it's not supposed to be doing anything that it shouldn't be doing, or going near stock when its handler is not there to observe. And then guys, the final thing is what we would call one-man dogs. And again, pet border collie owners probably already understand what I'm talking about, but it again gets intensified when you have a working dog. And what we mean by a one-man dog is that dog will have one person in the family that it probably favours and listens to a lot more, and they'll still give affection and love to everybody else in the household or family, but they tend to have that one person which they just listen to a lot better, and everybody else it's slightly more selective. And then this gets intensified when you're talking about a working dog, because you're spending like 8 hours a day at work with your dog, and it's just you and them, and you're constantly communicating and working with each other, and you just get such a close bond. You're really like that. Your dog becomes an extension of you. Quite an intense relationship with your working dog. And definitely when they're around about the house, they are so selective with who they listen to. They'll listen to people when it benefits them, but there's really only one person that will be able to properly, fully control them. And that's definitely something I see with a lot of working dogs. They'll only ever have one master at a time. Anyway guys, that's some of the major differences I see in the attitudes of working dogs versus pet dogs. And I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please hit that like button and leave us a comment, and that'll do for this video.